Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and today we have Tom Fox back, and we're looking at the first Four Morrissey albums. So what we're going to do is take our top two favorite tracks from each, rank them, discuss them, have a general conversation. So the albums we're looking at are Viva Hate from 1988, Kill Uncle from 1991, Your Arsenal from 1982, and Vauxhall and I from 1984. Morrissey is an English singer, songwriter, author. He came to prominence as the frontman and lyricist of the rock band The Smiths. They were active from 1982 to 87. After that, The Smiths broke up and Morrissey pursued a successful solo career. Holy mackerel, and welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse. Today I've got Tom Fox in the house. That's it. That's him.
That way.
That way. And today we're looking at Morrissey. As everyone knows, well, people might not know, but Morrissey was in the band The Smiths in the 80s. Smiths broke up in 88, 87. When did Strange Ways come out? Was that 87 or 86?
I can't remember.
Shit. Well, it doesn't matter. But anyway, we're going to look at Morrissey today. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through his first four solo albums. So we're going to look at starting off with Viva Hate from 1988. What can I say about this record? This record's kind of like a carryover from what came before with Strange Waves, because you still have Stephen Street, who produced, well, most of the Smith stuff. He did produce Strange Ways, so he's a carryover. He pretty much wrote most of the material he wrote all the material with Morrissey. So he was like Morrissey's right-hand man on this. Right. In fact, if looking at the credits, Stephen Street played bass guitar. He was the songwriter, producer, played guitar. Vinnie Riley was also on guitar. And a lot of other people that I really don't know. But whatever. It's all good. So anyway, what we're going to do is go through the first four albums. Now, there was another album that came out after this called Bono Hate, which was like a comp.
Right.
Bunch of singles and B-sides. We're not going to look at that because a lot of this will already be covered to some degree. So anyway, what we're going to do is get our first two from this record, and then we'll just go through. And I must say, Tom, that this exercise was... Of course, I worked on this. We had this plan a month ago. We didn't do it. But I must say that this exercise, because I had to go back and revisit it. I listened to the records again because I thought maybe my ranking might have changed. You know, it can happen.
Absolutely.
It really didn't. But I listened to, what did I listen to? Viva Hate. No, that one was okay. Kill Uncle. And I'll tell you that one was that's a tough record.
Yeah, that one's a little bit tougher. But yeah, so so I guess maybe right before I get into the album, maybe just kind of explain my perspective, kind of, because I'm kind of new to Morrissey. I know that sounds weird. I'm not new to him. I've been aware of him since the Smiths. I had a girlfriend in college that loved the Smiths. I never really got into them.
I love the Smiths. The thing is with the Smiths, Tom, you've got to really absorb it. We've been over this before. My son Griffin, that's his favorite band.
I didn't know that Smiths were his favorite. Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, oh my God. I haven't talked to him about it lately, but I'm sure it
was just, I think one of those, for whatever reason, I think it was just one of those bands. I never really gave them the time. I just, I'd heard some stuff from my girlfriend. I remember Girlfriend in a Coma was kind of interesting. I remember that, but for whatever reason, it never really clicked. And then, over the years, I'm aware of Morrissey, of course. A couple of the hits I've heard, but I think I told you that my pandemic project, the 1001 albums.
That's right.
This guy right here. That was my pandemic project. And Strange Ways was in here. That was the one Smiths album that was in here. But then once it got into his solo career, Viva Hate, Your Arsenal, and Vauxhall were just right there. Bang, bang, bang. And Viva Hate captured me immediately for whatever reason.
Yeah, Viva Hate, that's an easy listen.
Yeah, and I just thought, and then I listened to the next one. That was really good. That was really good. And then I thought, well, these are pretty good. I was like at Canton at the Exchange, and all three of those.
Cleveland?
Right
the
there.
Exchange?
Not up in Cleveland, Canton.
Oh.
But
I remember the one in Cleveland. God, I wonder if it's still there.
Yeah, I don't know. But they were just sitting right there, $2-3 each. I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll get them. So through this exercise that we're doing, right, I've been listening. I've never really analyzed albums like this before, so it's interesting. So
Tom, we're trying to get you into it.
Yeah, well, and I've always kind of had this ranking system in my head, 5 stars, and whereas like 5 is just, absolute classic. 4 is like really good. 3 good. 2 is like, and 1 is like annoying, which there's not too many songs I have that are 1s. Most kind of fall into the 3 and 2 categories. So that's kind of the system I used. And so listening to every song and kind of going through it. And yeah, I really, really like Viva Hate. And so I think maybe what caught me originally, that just did it for me and maybe set me down this whole path, was track 3 on Viva Hate. Every Day is Like Sunday. That song, I still think, I'm not familiar with Morrissey's back catalog past these 4 albums. I'm going to have to listen to them. But out of the 4 albums I've heard, that song, absolutely my favorite song, I think, by Morrissey. It's got this kind of like this Peter Hook type bass to it. As you said, Stephen Street co-wrote it with him. He seems to have this pattern where he co-writes with his guitarist, on all these albums. That's kind of what he does.
What was that?
That was, sorry, I'm going to mute that. That was Becky texting me.
No, tell her to calm down.
I will. But so Morrissey said, actually on this one, I said it kind of sounded Peter Hookish, which I'm, big New Order fan. But he said he was really inspired by the bass playing from Echo and the Bunnymen, that was his inspiration for this, which you could see.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think, and it's got these, I don't know if it's strings or if it's synthesizer to sound like strings in it, but it's just soaring. It's kind of this weird, depressing song about this town that like Englanders go to vacation in, but it's just like, he's kind of talking about the irony of vacationing in England. Like, why would you stay here and vacation? And it's this town that the seaside town they forgot to bomb, which I think his lyrics, that's another thing I really like about Morrissey. And I'll probably say little things here and there, depending on what songs we talk about. But sometimes his songs, even ones that don't catch me necessarily melodically, lyrically, I still find them very interesting. I get it now why he's called the king of mope rock. I get it. And he's so critical and he can be cynical, but he's snarky, which is right up my alley. So yeah, this song, I think the Every Day is Like Sunday. It's the depressing lyrics with sort of the soaring synths and guitar. And I think for me, this song completely embodies what I want from a Britpop song. It just defines Britpop to me. Almost every time I hear it, I get chills. It's so good. And it's funny that it's such a beautiful song, and it's about the drudgery of this town. It's kind of, I think Morrissey does that a lot. So I know this was the second single, I believe, off.
Yeah, was Suede Head the first one?
Yeah, Suede Head was the first one. And so, kind of falling in line, I guess, with the singles and being the second one. But so, yeah, that song to me is, I haven't heard one. I've heard a lot of good Morrissey songs, but I have not heard one better than this song. So.
Well, that was also the one that I picked.
Was it?
Well,
it's so good. I don't know how you can't pick it.
I mean, it was the single, and Suedehead was the single. And when you listen to that first record, I mean, it's pretty much a no-brainer to me because it follows that. It almost could have fit in with Strange Ways easily, I think. I do miss Johnny Marr on it.
Right.
He still seems like the missing link. I still think that is the best collaborator for Morrissey, no doubt. But this still, I mean, he's not really going out on a ledge here. He's keeping it pretty much within that. What do I want to say? Smiths. Rich, help me. Rich, help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and
he's not taking any chances on this. This is just a continuation of Strange Ways, pretty much.
Which you would think that I've heard other people say the same thing about this album in general and this song. So I gotta think that if I delve into the Smiths more, because I love this song so much, right. I probably would like the Smiths just as much. I just probably just haven't.
Oh, you'd like the Smiths more.
Yeah, probably.
Because I don't find his lyrics on his solo albums as engaging as anything that he had written with the Smiths.
Really?
Oh, that's just me.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm partial to the Smiths. I think they were absolutely perfect. I mean, for the 1980s, if you think about the production, there is nothing on a Smiths record that dates it. A Smiths record could be put out today and it'd be fresh. Now, if I look at like on Kill Uncle, I can listen to like the drum sounds on it, and I'm going, no, bad. But we'll get to Kill Uncle.
We will. But so the Smiths, they weren't. I mean, they only had what, like 4 albums, something like that. I mean, he's been much more prolific in his solo career than he was with the Smiths. And I know, and a matter of fact, I think I heard that the title of this album, Viva Hate, Long Live Hate. I mean, wow. I think it has to do with some bitterness over, because I think Johnny Marr was the one that kind of broke that relationship apart.
Yeah.
So I think that title kind of came from that a little bit. So yeah.
I don't know, Rich. I think I saw a video where Morrissey was dancing in it. I'm pretty sure there's a video. There's a Smiths video where he is dancing. But yeah, but that's also my pick. I think it's a great. Where's my damn notes? I think basically it's obvious single material. It almost kind of the beginning of it kind of reminds me of The Cure. And maybe that's where that Echo and the Bunnymen thing comes in.
Probably.
Because it's kind of in that same vein to some degree.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's got big drums and it's got a classic Morrissey medley. Like I said, this song could have fit right on Strange Days. It's in that similar writing style. And Every Day is Like Sunday also has strings on it. And I don't know if did any of the Smith stuff have any strings? I can't remember.
I don't know, but that strings is a big part of what attracted me to the song, I think.
I mean, you get on the next record, there's a lot of strings and I don't know.
Yeah.
So what is your other track on here that is your favorite?
Not sort of deviating from the sort of the obvious first single, Suedehead, track 7. Also co-written with Stephen Street, as I think most of this album was. Mm-hmm. I think it's again obvious single material. It's got the great jangle guitar to it. To me, for something about this song, the guitar sounds very Peter Buck for some reason. Once it kind of gets,
see that.
Yeah, it feels kind of like an REM song once you kind of get. I think this is kind of the poppiest song on the whole album.
Speaking of REM.
Oh yeah, I don't have that one.
It's the 40th anniversary.
I was gonna say, hopefully not the 40th.
It says the debut EP, the first time on CD, but it was already out on Dead Letter Office on CD.
Right.
But I can't find Dead Letter Office, but I picked that up because this is great. There again, I diverted the whole conversation, but that's
cool.
That's what we do on this channel.
Right. That's right. We can go anywhere.
We can go anywhere.
but it's a great song. It's just a great pop song. It's interesting, thinking about the lyrics. It's about a person having greater feelings for somebody than the other, but it's weird. It's got that weird, like, what does he say? It was a good lay. It was a good lay. But some people say he's saying it was a bootleg, which doesn't. He doesn't provide the lyrics, so it's like in the sheet, it doesn't provide those sort of that part of it. So who knows what the song's really about? But
who knows?
In Suede Head culture, I had to look that up. Apparently, I think that's and you go back to Morrissey, kind of the person. He's a bit controversial.
Well, he's way controversial lately.
Yeah. Well, between
past 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, between the sort of nationalistic type stuff, he's kind of, and suede head culture. My understanding is that kind of what it's about. And I don't know, is a suede head like a skinhead, but with just a little more hair? I don't know what that means, but the whole veganism and the animal, except he lectures his audience not to eat meat and stuff like that. But anyways, it's a great song, first single. My picks, as we get further along, we get a little more varied from just kind of going with the singles. But on this first album, to me, they were the obvious.
It's the obvious choice.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what I picked. I went with Suede Head too.
Yeah,
even though I like the whole thing, but these stand out so much further ahead than what else is on the album. I just can't help it. And most of the time on these albums and stuff, I like other tracks than the singles. But on this album, I don't know.
It wasn't that I didn't like the other tracks. These just stood out just a little bit. Well,
and Suede Head, I wrote Jangle Pop, has nice strings, very Smiths-like, Johnny Marr type composition. Like I said, this could have been a Smiths song too, I think. It's hard to let go, Tom. It's hard to let go and move on.
I know. Well, I'm definitely going to have to listen to the Smiths. If the two tracks I picked, everybody's saying is very
Well,
Smiths.
There's a comp that I think is really... Hang on, I'm going to pull it. Hang on. Just... I wonder if I can pull it real quick. Hang on. Don't go away.
Yeah, I'm cool.
All right. I don't know if this is still in print, but there's a 2 CD set, and maybe Rich is really into this whole Smiths thing. Maybe he could jump
that's
in.
right. I think I did right.
It's a 2 CD set called The Sound of the Smiths that I think it was mastered by Johnny Marr. 2 CD set though. I think if you would get this, I know there's a single CD set of this.
Yeah.
But I would get this. This has probably got everything you would ever probably need. But even though I like the albums, but a lot of times if I'm just going to put something in and listen to it, I'll just pop this in because it's, oh my God, there's nothing weak on it at all. And there's like 42 tracks. It's just wonderful. So I don't know if this is still in print, but it's a CD. It's not going to be very much.
Yeah.
So I would look for that if you just want to test the waters. But I think if you give it a chance, it'll take hold.
I'm sure I will.
What did Rich say? Suede Head was the title of a novel. In the video, he visits James Dean's hometown landmarks. Right. I remember that's what he did in that. Yeah, I remember that video. That's good. Well, there you go. So we both went with Suede Head and Every Day's Like Sunday. Now we're going to go to the next record, which, 1991's Kill Uncle. Well, what can I say about this record? We've got new producers. We got the producers that worked with, let me get my notes up, with Elvis Costello. Do you remember the one Elvis Costello album that had Daryl Hall on it? Oh my God, what album?
That's not ringing a bell.
Something about the end of the world. Oh shit. Well, anyway, to
Yeah,
me, this album sounds like that album. And that was like one of the worst Elvis Costello albums on the planet. Clive Langer and Alan Winstanley, that production team, they did some Elvis Costello stuff. I think they did Every Day I Write the Book, that kind of era of Elvis.
Mhm.
But listening to this, it's totally changed his whole sound. Stephen Street's gone. I believe that Rich had said that there was some kind of falling out with Stephen Street, but I don't know what.
After Viva Hate, yeah. I think he composed a lot of this album with, was it Mark Nevin? Who I don't know where he came from.
Yeah, Fairground Attraction. He's in that band. But I'll tell you, I don't know. I listened to this. Now, to be honest, before I bought it for our review, I hadn't heard it. I don't have everything. But I did not have this because the reviews for this record were so poor.
292 on AllMusic, I think.
And Rolling Stone, I think, gave it like a star.
Or two stars on AllMusic, right? This is the one. I don't have this one. This was, okay. It wasn't in, obviously, 1001 albums.
Well, no.
Right. And so I streamed this one. And then after listening to it, yeah, it's not going to be one that I purchase. I mean, I don't think it's like a horrible
album.
No,
I think it just kind of lays there. I think one review I said it was almost like Morrissey starting to becoming a parody of himself, which I agree with that, because it almost sounds like he's trying to be Morrissey.
Trying to amp it up.
And it just, and the album is so kind of blasé and relaxed, and the only upbeat track on here is Our Frank, I think.
Track
Everything, one. Yeah, it's track one, and it's just pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it comes out of the gate pretty. I think kind of strong with Our Frank, which, if you just want to kind of dive into it, that was one of my two picks.
Well, that's my pick too.
And here we go.
It's upbeat.
Yeah, it's a strong start to the album. I don't think it's terrible. It's got this piano, that comes. This piano that comes in, and the bass with it. It's
fine.
And
it's Morrissey light. Yeah. It's almost like a yacht rock version of Morrissey. I listened to the whole album and I kept thinking in my mind, yacht rock.
Yacht rock Morrissey.
I swear to God. So wait a minute, Rich, you said Stephen Street actually put an injunction on Morrissey releasing new stuff. Why did he do that? I have no idea. I don't know what the story is behind it.
That's
in the comments. What was the deal with? Why would he even do that? I don't know.
No clue.
But I went with Our Frank too, just because it was upbeat. What did I say? I mentioned that it does sound like the Elvis Costello album. I find it very bland and faceless. The keys and it's a lot of keyboards, a lot of orchestration. I just found the whole record boring.
Definitely the second.
And I wrote, nothing on this record reaches out to me.
I'm
just being honest.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I wrote the second half is just plotting. It's just the first half's got a few little kind of highlights to it, and then the second half to me just does nothing for me.
Yeah, in fact, I had to listen to this multiple times today to pull. Okay, I had all my notes together except for this record.
Right.
And I thought, well, I've got most of it ready. So I went back. I thought, okay, it's been 3 weeks. Let me go back. Let's just listen to it. And maybe this time, after having a break from it, it's a little bit more, shall we say, familiar. Maybe I can pull something out. Well, it didn't help. I was able to pull out another song, but it could have been any of the other songs on the record. The other one that I picked was Driving Your Girlfriend Home, because I kind of like the lyrical content.
The lyrics are great on that
song. The lyrics are great on it. Yeah. But it is kind of a lazy, kind of mellow. But I could almost, Tom, I could almost, if I think real hard, I could almost think that that could be a Smith song. You put a great Johnny Marr guitar part on it, you know, it almost could be there.
That
Because the
song,
lyrics are so great on that
right.
track.
That's one of the songs I was talking about at the top of the show, is that, you know, even some of the songs that maybe musically aren't that great to me, there's still some that I still think are fun just from the lyrics, and that's definitely one of them.
And I must say, maybe Kill Uncle, if I would spend, I don't know, if I played it for a month a lot, maybe it would sink in. Maybe it's one of those records that you really have to
Well, I don't know, Rich
spend a
was,
lot of time with. But the thing is, it kind of drives me crazy. I hate the drum sound on it. And that
yeah,
almost kills it for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't really like Langer in Winston Lee's productions. I don't care for their work with Elvis Costello very much. I don't know why. It's just the sound that they produce.
Maybe it's just overproduced a little bit, you know?
I don't know. That could be it. I like Stephen Street's work a lot better. I think he's the perfect fit. But, you know, people have these falling outs and, you know, it is what it is. So what's your second track?
My
What's
second one is track 3, Mute Witness.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's got, you know, it's a little poppier, but what's funny about this song to me is the way it starts. It's kind of got that pulsing piano, and every time I hear it, all I can think of is that Saturday Night Live skit where they're doing water pole, I can't remember like Martin Short's in the cap, and he's doing it, and I'm like, what is that song they were playing? Because it sounds just like that piano. Well, it's an old Frank Stallone song from Staying Alive movie soundtrack. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Well, I'm familiar with Frank's work.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what
the song is called. What is it called? Far From Over. But for whatever reason, I mean, that's not important.
Wow, but Tom, that is so obscure.
It's weird. Well, it's just because I remember that SNL sketch with Martin Short and some other SNL guy doing like water ballet, and, you know, with the nose plugs and the hair caps. And that's the song that they were playing in the background when they were, you know, doing that stupid skit. So for whatever reason, when I hear the beginning of Mute Witness, for whatever reason, it just reminds me of that song, which wasn't a song I ever liked. It just,
what was the name of the song again?
Far From Over. It was on the soundtrack to Staying Alive, the sequel to Saturday Night Fever.
Far From Over, Frank Stallone, Vinny DiCola. Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the song, which is weird that I picked. Well, maybe that's saying something. That the favorite song I picked off of, one of my 2 songs I picked off of Kill Uncle, reminds me of a song that I never particularly cared for to begin with.
And God knows that movie was absolutely hideous.
Oh yeah, it was a terrible movie. But yeah, you know, it's and then lyrically, I can't say it was all that, you know, interesting.
Yeah, I don't think any of his lyrics, other than I do like Driving Your Girlfriend Home lyrically. Maybe that's what kind of grabbed me. I kind of like that.
She said, "Turn left." I turn left. I mean, that's like, that song's great. But
I don't know.
yeah,
I thought that was fine, but that was it.
It didn't do much for me musically, but I did like the lyrics. But so Mute Witness, kind of like you. I mean, it's like, I mean, I'm comparing it to some other stuff that's not really grabbing me, but that's where I would land on this one.
All right, cool. All right, next one. Now things are lining up. For one, we've got production on this record by Mick Ronson. And Mick seems to know what to do with Morrissey, because this album is absolutely fabulous.
And Morrissey, like, was just thrilled that he was able to get Mick to work with him on this. Like,
sure, because he's a big Bowie fan, right? And you know,
yeah, right.
It's right up his alley.
And this album takes a kind of a turn too. This album goes a little bit harder, you know, than the first 2 solo albums. I wouldn't classify this album as jangle pop. at
No, it's
all.
much harder.
He had an entirely new backing band on this album. It's like he knew the Kill Uncle thing was a flop, and he knew he had to make changes. I think he knew he had to go big, and that was that hook, hooking Mick Ronson into it. And he also kind of shifted, like we said, it goes away from jangle pop. I think it goes more towards a little glam rock, a little bit.
I would say that's a fair assessment, yeah. Or a little bit more alt rock to some degree, but it's kind of like a combination. Yeah, I'd say more glam.
I mean, in a weird way, another band I've kind of gotten into recently. It kind of reminds me of New York Dolls a little bit. Some of their stuff. But I thought this album was a great change.
Oh my God. If you look at the reviews, All Music gave it 4.5. See what Rolling Stone gave it 4. Village Voice gave it an A-. Rolling Stone Album Guy gave it a 5-star review. Q gave it 5-star constantly. Robert Christgau, at the time of the Village Voice, he said it was his most consistent solo set to that date. I would have to agree.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like he rose from the dead after Kill Uncle. I don't know. It's like night and day. I can listen to this whole album, and to pull a track off of it is difficult because the whole thing is just, it's,
it's really good. Yeah,
Your Arsenals was hell. Yeah, I think it's the best band he ever had. Alan White is a great guitarist and writer. Yeah, rockabilly. Yeah, there's all kinds of different styles.
Yeah, there is some rockabilly on it.
And it just seems like Morrissey's more alive on this record, where on Kill Uncle, he's just kind of
going through the motions, maybe.
It's that second sophomore slump thing, I think. I don't know. I just so glad he got Ronson in here who knew what to do with it. Yeah, one thing it says on here, Morrissey changes direction from indie pop to a more muscular rock sound. And someone notes it has a glam rock influence.
Yeah,
which makes total sense. What's your first track? What do you? And this was very hard, as you know.
This one definitely
Kill Uncle was hard too.
Yeah, this one definitely got a little bit harder. Because there's so many good tracks on it. I think I even said, I'm trying to look at my notes here, that I don't think there was a. Let me look at my little rankings here. I don't think I have. No, I don't have 1 2-star in there. 3-star is which to me is still a good song. But most of them are 4, and there's a couple 5s in there. So yeah, to me, this is just a great album. The first one I picked was I think it was the 5th single they released off this, Glamorous Glue, track 2. I think this was, it's similar to track 1, I think, in general, but I think maybe what caught me on this one, it's got this rising guitar that just kind of happens through it, and these big drums come in. It's just this whole, like you said, a whole different sound from Kill Uncle. And then it's got, at the end, there's a bit of this buzzsaw guitar that kind of comes in, which was like nothing I had heard up to that point, for Morrissey. But
yeah, it's very Johnny Marr-like too,
Yeah, and then for all these big drums and guitars and the buzzsaw guitar, it's, for me, then the whole thing's tempered by Morrissey's just smooth as silk voice. That he obviously,
it's such a contrast, but it all works.
It works.
It works.
And I think that's kind of what I love, that contrast throughout this album of all that harder instrumentation, and then he can just kind of deliver the way he delivers, and it changes the whole formula, but it's still distinctly Morrissey. You're not going to mistake him for anybody else.
Oh, no.
But yet it was enough of a change in the writing and the instrumentation that, and it was hard, but this song to me, Glamorous Glue, I really kind of liked it. Couldn't quite figure out what yeah, I love just as we look to Los Angeles for the language we use. London is dead. I mean, that's just Morris percent. He's like basically saying, England, we're in the past, we're not in the future, and just Britain is increasingly irrelevant. But I can't figure out is he saying all this while he's sniffing glue or something? I don't know. I don't understand.
God only knows.
But yeah, I think it's funny when Morrissey when he's got something to say,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna say it.
Yeah, he really doesn't give a shit. He
Right.
just goes with it.
I like that though. I think it's great. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
What about you for a first track?
We hate it when our friends become successful. Because of course it's true. And
right.
Again, I'm going to go back. It's very catchy. This is very jangly. I mean, and it's very Smiths. What can I say? And the lyrical content is so Morrissey. If we had lyrical content like this on Kill Uncle, we might have had a better record. I give this track 5 stars. It's got a great middle 8, the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Memorable. It sticks with you. Instantly sticks with you. Where when you're listening to anything on Kill Uncle, you're constantly trying to find something to latch onto, and there's absolutely nothing to grab onto. But
Right.
This record, songwriting's back, baby. I'm just saying. And you don't miss more. You don't miss Johnny Marr on here at all.
It's funny. This song is, and I think it's a good song. I mean, mm-hmm. I gave it 3 stars, but for me, this wasn't one of the stronger songs on the album. It's funny though. I had a note written by it that I said, I feel like I should like this song better than I do. Mm-hmm. I don't. It's not that I don't like it. It's just I don't know why in my mind it's not elevated to like a 4 or 5 star on my system. I don't know, but it's a good song. Absolutely.
When I hear it, it's just absolutely. It could have any lyrical content. I think that the melody is wonderful. Like I said, the middle 8 is great. Chorus is great. It's just a great. I don't know if did he release that as a single?
That was the first single.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So you obviously are tapped into
I can pick
something.
it. I can pick them.
Right.
But that's my first one. What's your second? So
my second one is track 4, National Front Disco. It's a strange name. I just love the melody on this one. It's got the build up again to this to the soaring chorus again, and the song kind of goes down and then it brings it back up again, the way they do. And it's funny in singing about, England is for the English. This one does definitely tap into that. I can see why people thought, you look at the, him being sort of nationalistic and maybe anti-immigrant. I don't know. But it's difficult when you look at the lyrics. I couldn't understand if he was being critical of someone or singing about himself. And that's the one thing Morrissey's good at, is being ambiguous enough in his lyrics that you don't always know if he's singing from a personal standpoint or he's singing like he's criticizing somebody else. So it's hard to and maybe that's good that, stuff doesn't stick to him. But this was just, kind of a faster pace. Love the melody, like I said, and typical Morrissey soaring kind of chorus, and just I love this song.
I get it.
Probably can't get behind the lyrics, but who cares?
Whatever. I don't. I'm trying to be neutral on everything. If it gets me, if I'm taken by it, I'm taken by it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, Rich has a comment on here. Tomorrow's a great big sounding closer, because that is my second choice. I wrote on my notes from before, I went, OMG, things have returned to form. Put your arms around me, I won't tell anybody's a great line. I swear to God, this is the Smiths. I keep saying the Smiths, but I love the damn Smiths. So I put on here the guitar is very U2, kind of like,
Yeah.
it's kind of very U2. It's kind of like The Edge. Isn't like Johnny Marr at all, but I wrote that this song is exquisite. I give it 5 stars. Again, the melody on here, it's a beautiful song. And what a way to close the record.
Yeah, it was a great. It's a great closer. That's why I
Because you
kind
listen to
of
that and you're going, holy
right.
crap, I want more. What's the next album going to be? And, that's all part of sequencing. At the end of a record, you want someone listening to the record to want more. You want to leave them wanting more.
Right.
And that track, out of all the tracks on here, I think is the perfect closer for this CD.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's exquisite. I don't know. For something in 92, I think that this is probably one of the best releases of that year. I would think.
Yeah, I don't even remember
somewhere
released at the same time, but yeah,
it's hard to believe that it came out in 92.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
because Nevermind was 91, right? So, God, I can't believe this is 92.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like
I'm 1,000 years old.
A decade. I don't think it's to me. It sounds like it came earlier to me.
Well, I also think that this record sounds really fresh still. Unlike Kill Uncle, which is definitely dated. I think this, and it's funny because Kill Uncle, what year was that again? That was the year 91. It still had those 1980s tendencies. This, I don't hear that. Yeah. Of course, when Nirvana hit, everything changed.
Right.
So all the production changed and virtually overnight. You remember that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole 80s slick overproduction stuff just went out for most people, went out the window.
Yeah. I mean, it held on for a little bit, but I don't know. I do remember that moment when it all changed, though.
Yeah, I agree with, and I think, Kill Uncle aside, on these first, like Vauxhall, Viva Hate, and what is it? This one, or this is Viva Hate, or Your Arsenal, sorry. Get them all mixed up. Those 3, I think he has strong finishing tracks on all 3 of those albums. To your comment about want him to leave more.
Yeah.
And I think this one does the same thing. It's got this great little piano outro that he does at the end of this song. And I was just reading Rich's comment. I could totally understand that. To a racist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can't understand if Morrissey, like I said, is trying to if he's with that or if he's criticizing it, and he keeps himself kind of who knows? But yeah, I can definitely see how this one might have got him into some trouble. But yeah, back to the ending track. I agree. It's a great way to end the album, and I think for the most part he does really good, at least on these 3 of these first 4 albums in terms of how he ends them.
Yeah, Rich, I haven't heard the remasters. In fact, I didn't learn that they were remastered until today. Because, like, all this stuff that I bought, well, I don't have any, but, most of the stuff that I buy, it's all in the used bins. And you never see any of his stuff other than the original pressings in the bins. And I'm fine with the way they sound, I'm worried about anything that's new because it could be jacked up, brick walled. I'd have to listen to it. And I don't know what year the remasters came out, but I've never seen one in a while. No, I
definitely have, just kind of getting into it. And I know what I have is the originals. But,
I think you're fine. I mean, the sound quality of them, I think it's before when things started to get jacked up. So everything's pretty, there's dynamic range and they don't sound all jacked up to me.
Yeah.
So there you go. We had 4 different tracks.
Yeah.
This just goes to show you how strong of a record it is.
Good point.
So after this, we are going to yet another strong record. Because once we did Viva, Your Arsenal, now we go to Vauxhall, which is also a strong record.
Great album.
1994. And did we have... This one we have Steve Lillywhite on it,
producing,
which
yeah.
I love Steve Lillywhite, and
Yep.
I've said that before. I love Steve's work. Do I like this record than Your Arsenal? It's close. But I think Your Arsenal is, I don't know. I think that was the peak. But to be honest, you look at the reviews for this record. AllMusic gave it 4.5. Blender gave it 5. Rolling Stone gave it 4. It gets Q Magazine gave it 5. It is up there, just like the previous record. So at this point, Morrissey's just on fire. And I think Steve Lillywhite, though, when you listen to the production of this, because I think he basically has the same band he had before. Boz and Alan White and Johnny Bridgewood. It's the same band, which is, that band is a great band.
Yeah, it's a good lineup for him.
Great lineup. They fit with Morrissey perfectly and know how to accompany him to a T. But I love Steve Lillywhite's work.
Yep.
All his productions, Marshall Crenshaw, XTC, you know.
Yep.
The resume is huge.
Yeah, he's touched so much, right?
Oh, Rich says Your Arsenal deserves to be jacked up. All right. Vauxhall and I is a 5-star album for me. All right, there you go.
Me too.
Well, Moz is at an absolute peak. I totally agree. Oh my God, this is a good record. So, what can I add about this? Title is a reference to the 1987 With Nail and I. Vauxhall is an area of London noted for gay clubs. Blah, blah, blah. Not really much here to talk about. But I do want to say that it was a top 20 in the United States, so it sold well. I'm not exactly sure how the previous album did, but this one, oh, okay. It was also Morrissey's second solo album to reach top of the charts in Britain, the first being Viva Hate. So this is a very successful record for him. So there you go.
One thing I read, it was kind of interesting. I don't know if it put him in a different mindset, but right before he recorded this, his manager, Nigel Thomas, had died. His video director that he had used pretty exclusively, Tim Broad, died, and Mick Ronson had just passed away.
Yeah, I think Mick had
So he had
cancer.
like all these deaths. I don't know how that affected his frame of mind. He obviously went away from that more power. I'm going to call it power pop for lack of a better word.
Well,
on Your Arsenal.
I would say it's verging power pop to some degree. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a move now. We said, oh, it's great. He's moving towards that. But then on this one, he kind of now is moving away from that. I felt, you know, and I, you know, it almost feels like to me, it's kind of going back to Viva Hate kind of a little bit in terms of general vibe for me.
Yeah, it's probably just the fact that we've got Steve Lillywhite back, you know, in the chair.
Yeah, and
different production styles,
right?
You know?
Right.
Less glam, because you would think you'd have a little bit more glam with Mick Ronson, of course.
Right.
You know,
that makes sense. Yeah, this one actually I had to do where I basically titled up, you know, or totaled up all my stars on each album, then divided by number, you know, to average them out just to see what album I liked. And this one, just through a mathematical process.
Yes, very scientific.
Very scientific. Just inched out Your Arsenal.
I'll be damned.
So the order of my favorites, throw Kill Uncle out, is basically then in the order. Viva, Your Arsenal, and then Vauxhall, barely of the first four is my favorite. So
nice. Excellent. Wow. Well, we know Rich likes it. I still like Your Arsenal better, but I don't know. I can't really tell you why. Maybe I've had more experience with it, but I'll tell you, the songs that are on Vauxhall, holy mackerel, he is on a roll. So I'm curious, what is your number one? What's your top two? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't know that I have them ranked one better.
Yeah, I mean, just what are your top two?
Yeah, so the first one is track 6, Why Don't You Find Out for Yourself? Something about this song, and not that it makes it better, but it feels like an Adam Ant song. It's really strange. I could just totally see that song being on an Adam Ant album for some reason. The strumming guitar, it's great, and it has kind of a swing to it that I hadn't really heard on some of his other songs. That I thought was a little bit different. And there's this really faint female backing vocal. It's hard to hear, at least for my old ears, it's hard to hear. But it's just this light accentuation in the back of it, and I'm not sure there's any percussion in this song.
I don't know.
I think it's got the strumming guitar. I'm trying to remember if there's a bass to it, but I'm not sure that there's percussion on it, which is a little unusual. And like one thing I've noticed Morrissey does, two things I noticed Morrissey does a lot, and I think he does not one of them on this song, is a lot of songs he starts with the chorus. I don't know if you've noticed that. He'll just,
right in. Yeah.
He'll start with the chorus. It's like, this is what it's going to be, and then we'll circle back around to it. The other thing I noticed with Morrissey, which I don't think he did on this song, but he uses a lot of background sounds. If you've ever noticed that, like broadcast of like radio show playing, or camera shutters being released, and I kind of like that aspect of his music, that it's weird. It's almost signature to him in a way that he doesn't do it on everything, but he does it on a lot. But I don't think this song used any of the sound effects, but definitely was one that just came, right out in the chorus. And this one, it's a little simpler. It's toned down. It's not. It's interesting. I feel like a lot of the songs I picked were some of his more poppier, maybe heavier ones, with the exception of Every Day Is Like Sunday. But this one, for me, and what I picked, I thought was a little more muted. But that would be that was one of my two picks.
Okay, excellent. Well. My favorite. The more you ignore me, the closer I get.
Yep.
Obviously has to be the single. I don't know if that was released as a single.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was. Oh, it's got Christy McCollum backing vocals.
That was the lead single.
Oh, the extra B-side. I'd love to features Christy McCall, which she was great. Probably because she was married to Steve Lillywhite then. But the line, "I will be in the bar with my head on the bar."
Yeah.
So Morrissey, for God's sake.
Right.
And lots of 12 string on it, the jangly. As you can tell now, I am just absolutely enthralled with that whole jangle thing. Classic Morrissey, the line, "Ah, let me in" is great. Slide guitar's a nice touch, I think. It's right up there. I think it's right up there with his best material, I think.
I agree. I gave it 5 stars. I said it's just an absolutely great pop tune. It just didn't beat the other ones I picked.
See? You just never know, kids. When you do these kind of ranking things, you just never know what's going to happen. But for me, I hear it and it just hits me like like the water has parted,
That's kind of the way Every Day Is Like Sunday hits me.
Yes. When you listen to that off that record, when that track comes on, it's just like, everything's opens up.
Yeah.
So what's your second?
It's interesting. Both the songs I picked off of this album, neither were singles, which I thought was kind of.
I'm going to have to see if my other one was a single.
But my last...
Oh, no, it's not.
Okay.
Which is weird.
All right.
Okay.
So my last one, and this might be my second all-time favorite Morrissey song of the first 4 albums, right after Every Day Is Like Sunday, is track 11, Speedway, the closer, on this one. This one, I feel, is obviously the best song on the album. It's got that chainsaw intro to it, and then it just it's just the way it just eases from that chainsaw into this melody that he's got. You know, it's these pounding, echoey drums throughout the whole thing. And then the ending, like you say, leave them wanting more. It goes to this pause. And then these huge tribal drums come in at the end. It's just, you know, it's like this, the big closer, you know, it's just something about the way it's just, and this I think probably is one of that chainsaw makes it feel like one of the harder songs, but it's still so Morrissey silky smooth through the whole thing, you know. Oh yeah, the Queen. Yeah, start like the Queen is dead. The thing I remember about the Queen is dead is always the ending of that one, where you can hear the guillotine chop come down.
That's a great record. But now that we're bringing up Smith, Rich, would you recommend this comp? You can just put it on the. I'm just curious because I think it's great. But anyway,
I think
so
this
Speedway
exemplifies the closer. What you should do on a closer, the way Morrissey typically does good closers. First 4 albums, to me, this was his best closer, and probably
I have to agree.
Song.
And I almost feel like flipping my vote, but I'm not. My other one I'm going with is I Am Hated for Loving. Again, shock. It's very jangly. It's a shock to me that I would pick it. The line, I am falling with no one to catch me. I love that. I love the lyrics on this track. You know, it's got that sense of isolation, of not belonging. Typical Morrissey, being that outcast, not fitting in.
Yep.
You know? Holy crap. It's so freaking good. The song is... It's almost, you really have to like stretch this, but it almost reminds me of like like maybe a touch of surf music to some degree, because it's kind of hypnotic. I don't know if surf music, if you ever heard the band The Blue Hawaiians, it kind of reminds me of that. So. Well, that's for another discussion. Okay. If there's one band you should hear, holy mackerel, you check out The Blue Hawaiians. But I just think it's a lovely track. It's kind of depressing, but what would Morrissey be without a depressing song? You know, he mopes. This mopes.
Right. Oh yeah,
it's mopey. But I think it's a great track. I could listen to it over and over. In fact, going through this record, just like the one before, it was an exercise. The only one on this whole list that was easy was the first album, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
The whole exercise, not the saying that it was, you know, a pain to do, but it was difficult. These records are so strong that it's hard to pull stuff out of them, you know?
And the first one, I think it's a strong album. It's just the first 2 singles were just clearly the strongest, you know, songs on that one. Where it's interesting, when we got into Your Arsenal and Vauxhall, we were completely different songs on both of those, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the last one, I did this Vauxhall. I didn't even have a single. Is my favorite.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to what was released as singles or anything. I just went through it, took them all in, and just, you know, I try not to go into it so much. It's okay to sit here and look at it and then bring it up, but but I knew the singles off the first album, obviously, because they played those like on MTV and back in the day, you know, 120, not 120, was it 120 minutes?
Well, that was the alternative.
They played it like on 120 minutes and all that.
Well, what's weird for me is Every Day is Like Sunday was not a song I'd never heard before. I'd heard it.
They played it like on CD 101 and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it never, for whatever reason, it never hit me like it did and when I started listening to it over COVID. But it was Margaret on the Guillotine. Yeah, the guillotine chop.
So great. Holy crap. I love the gentle jangle on I Am Hated for Loving. Why don't you find out for yourself as well?
Yeah, that was
It's
the
so
one I
great.
picked. Yeah,
I do like that gentle jangle. I'm a sucker for it.
I do. I do too.
I can't help it, but I
But
love it.
it's weird. So I've obviously listened to these first four albums a lot. Especially in preparation for this. I'm like clueless, out from here. So
Well, I
I'm
got
gonna have to start diving into the extended catalog because I'm sure there's going to be
well,
good stuff.
I've got Southpaw Grammar. I've got Maladjusted. I have not heard You Were the Quarry. Griffin, I think's got Ringleader. He's got that. I think we've got that. But there's a lot of records. World Peace is None of Your Business. I bought that on vinyl when it came out. I think that came out on Parlophone. And I think right after that they dropped him from their label.
Really?
Well, from what I've heard, I think we're in the peak right now. I'm not saying that none of these other records are bad.
Yeah.
I think they're
That may
fine.
be.
But
I'm not
I
sure
think
how you improve on Voxhill and
I don't think you can. Because if you look at the ratings for Southpaw, like 2.5, 2, 3. Rolling Stone gave it a 3. It's almost like we're going backwards. Very mixed reviewed,
well, maybe Vauxhall was his peak.
Rich, again, the remaster sounds better, much more clear and dynamic sounding. Well, I have noticed that the remaster has, if I can find it, it's all about clicking. It says the 2014 anniversary remaster includes previously unavailable 1995 concert from Theatre Royal London. You have to check it out. I've never seen it. I don't know if that stuff's even still in print. They put stuff out and you either better buy it while you see it because you never know.
Right. Just
anymore.
Yeah, much less is being printed.
Right. Well, there you go, kids. That's our take on the first Four Morrissey solo albums. We were all over the place except for the first one. The second one to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it just goes to show to the strength of those albums that you can just about pick any track, especially off those last two, and it's a winner.
We've got a recommendation from Rich. I recommend the Morrissey sanctioned releases of Southpaw Grammar and Maladjusted. It has better sound, different track order, and some extra tracks. All right.
It's a good recommendation.
Yeah, I don't have those. I think some of these, if you really look in the cheapie bins, you can find a lot of these. Morrissey Pop sends a pop-up at half-price books in the cheapie bins. But there's plenty of them to be had. It seems like a lot of people bought these and they've traded them in, I don't know. I see more solo Morrissey in the used bins than I ever see any Smith stuff.
Smiths, yeah, I don't typically see the Smith stuff pop up.
No. And if you do find the Smith stuff, you want all the British pressings of the first CDs that came out.
Oh yeah.
Those absolutely on the Rough Trade label, the British ones. Like the original pressings in the mid 80s, absolutely sound spectacular. They're not jacked up. They're very natural sounding. You can't beat those. Same for the original Rough Trade pressings too of the records. Those are considered the best. Still, the original pressings, if you ever find them. But I've got most of the original UK CDs. And a lot of them would be pressed in France, but that doesn't matter. They're just like flat, not, jacked up or anything. They sound really good. They sound great. You can crank them up and they sound wonderful.
Well, I kind of feel like what I'm going to have to do is go maybe a little bit forward with Southpaw Grammar Maladjusted, but I really feel like I got to go backwards. I feel like I got to dive back into the Smiths and really give it a more critical listen. Yeah.
Or if you get an album, I would say get The Queen is Dead, I guess. But oh, another one of Griffin's, one of our favorite records. I do like the first Smiths album, but people never really talk about this very much. But there was, oh boy, what was it? Oh, come on, Grant. It was a comp, but Griffin and I loved it. Where's the discography? Just tells you my brain's not working. Okay. Hateful of Hollow, which came out 1984 in Rough Trade, which is like a combination of like singles and some of the tracks that they did for like the BBC.
Okay.
Holy crap, I love that. I'll tell you, when the Smiths were playing live in the studio, you know, they were so tight and so well rehearsed that those BBC tracks, I almost prefer the BBC tracks to the studio stuff.
Album. Yeah.
And some of that's on here too. But Hateful of Hollow, I almost listen to that more often than the first album. They're all came out around the same time, but it's great. Holy crap. They have such great stuff. Yeah, but they only actually put out 3 quote-unquote studio albums. Smiths, Meat is Murder, which I have the original UK of that. Queen is Dead, and Strange Ways. Strange Ways, I've got the Warner Brothers version of that, but it's probably okay.
Yeah, I think that was the one I remember my girlfriend Ann listening to all the time, was Strange Ways.
Yeah. Well, there's, if you ever, I don't know what we want to do, but we could always look at some Smith stuff. You could dive into some of that. It'd be interesting to compare and contrast.
It would be. I mean, considering how well I know these first 4 solo albums now, I think it would be interesting to kind of see what he was doing right before that. And,
Thanks, Star. Thanks, Rich. Yeah, the next Matthew Sweet discussion, speaking of that, Rich, I should have part 3 with the Scott Byron interview up tomorrow. And I think that'll be it. It's just a 3-parter. So I'll try to I haven't did the final edit on it, but I should have it up tomorrow.
Going through all Sweet's albums?
Yeah, Todd Evans and I have been going through the whole catalog. And we've interviewed Scott Byron, who was Matthew Sweet's A&R man.
Oh, I'll have to check that one out.
Scott Byron is the guy who brought Matthew Sweet to Zoo Entertainment from A&M.
Oh, okay.
Because Girlfriend was shelved for a year. Matthew Sweet recorded that album for A&M.
Okay.
I didn't know if you were aware of that.
I did not know.
Because Earth came out on A&M, and then he made Girlfriend.
Right.
And they had a shake-up at the label. There was no champion for it. So Girlfriend sat on a shelf.
It's amazing to think that album sat on a shelf.
Well, there was no champion for it.
Yeah.
And basically...
Oh, did we lose you, Grant? Oh, there you are.
But if there's no champion at the record label pushing it, so they made a deal with A&M. You have to listen to that first episode because he goes through the whole history of it and how he brought Matthew to the label. And of course, that changed his whole
career.
It changed his whole career.
Yeah. I mean, Girlfriend opened up everything for him.
See, Star says those are great interviews. I'm like Oprah. I'm kind of like Oprah.
Are you giving away cars yet?
No. But we do have, Todd and I do have another interview coming up. Ever hear of the band called the Scrolls?
Yeah.
Athens, Georgia band?
Yeah. I don't know that I've heard them. I've heard of them.
All right. Well, in a couple weeks, we've got another interview.
Cool. I know she's starting to get some interviews going.
Well, that's the whole goal. I'm going to see who else we can get for Matthew Sweet. I don't know. Got some names. Let's see if I can get some more people. Because, to be quite honest, I just love doing the whole interview thing,
Yeah, I watched.
Now I have to do my homework, Grant. There you go, Star. Do some homework for me.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, there's going to be more great content there's going to be more from Tom and I too. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do next.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. See, it's fun. But anyway, all right. Stay on here, Tom.
Okay.
I want to thank Star, Rich, everybody. Claire gave me a heart. That's good. I want to thank everybody for commenting, tuning in, giving your 2 cents. There'll be more great content to come. And like I said, thanks for coming in, Tom. I appreciate you coming on. It's always fun to shoot the shit with you.
Definitely.